Welcome to Inside Plug, the podcast where independent creators and entrepreneurs connect and inspire. I'm your host, Devon Jones. Today on our show, we have filmmaker, writer, director, Lance McCloud. Lance, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here, Lance. And we love filmmakers who has
This was around 2015. Just kind of overall, I am really close with my older brother. Used it as a way to grieve. I got into cosplaying, and then I was watching films and started once I finished the first cosplay, I was like I could use this for something, and just started recording. And this was right around the time I started high school, so then I got into high school theater. At the same time, I was making fan films for DC characters. So between trying to get better at acting and then doing the very very amateur filmmaking from the fan films, I started getting into film programs, and it pretty much all just went from there. And that's pretty much that was the start of it.
awesome. I love it. So when you mentioned cosplay and acting, could you share what was it?
Horror, so stuff like that always kind of piqued my interest, or something that I wanted to get into. But the first cosplay, or the first couple cosplays I did for were for DC characters. So I did Red Hood. This was around the time they were doing the Batman Arkham games, so I did specifically the Red Hood from Batman Arkham Knight, for those who know. So I did that, and then I'd end up doing Scarecrow. Same thing, kind of based around the design for that. And the Arkham games kind of have a very kind of horror-esque, but also kind of gothic design to them. So just naturally to outside world seems scary, even though it's a Batman game, So it all just kind of it went from there. But I've always been heavy into horror. My brother was into it. My dad was into it. Playing Mortal Kombat, I'm used to all that stuff.
Awesome, awesome. I'm curious, Lance. So with these characters, have you created your own characters based on these experience, like little bits from this one, little bits from that one?
Kind of. Um, my first feature was one called Omega. That one was very very bare bones. I don't think I have that one public anymore. But in that one, playing the person who the story is around. So that I would wait and work with before on it is they were like, you described it pretty well. I know what I need to do. And I kind of being both a writer and an actor, that kind of helps because I made sure to put all of my blocking in it, so the way that as soon as we get to it, I can just say, all right, so you're gonna be here, and that's like, all right, so this is where we're gonna do this. Yeah, yeah, So it helped out a lot with that. But yeah, between writing, directing, and being there was very very fun. I did all the Wolfman stuff first over the span of about 3 days. And then I went and did everything pre Wolfman over two. So that was about 5 days spread between end of March to beginning of May. And then I finished up post production for that um last month. And current plan is I'm now gonna put that in film festivals. That's it's work that I'm very very proud of. So it's my first real attempt to submit anything in and see, but I think it's just a very good short, and we run a small crew. It's me, my brother, and my best friend. And then we had outside help. My girlfriend came on. She helps out with, me really really strutted our stuff with this.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. And look forward to seeing that film in film festivals. Yes. And you brought up a good point, because not many filmmakers can do what you did, as in you don't see yourself typically in these type of roles. So how would you be able to put yourself in that position to be seen a way that you're not normally seen? And I'm glad that you was able to discover that and use that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this in film festivals and all the audience and listeners out there. When you see the title "I Got You," check it out. Go check it out.
But I think ultimately it was handled well. It is a project that I do wish to um come back to in the future. I think it is a very very good story, and very 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 deeply rooted in reality for some people. myself included. So it's just, with that, people will hear it, or and think that the majority of the stuff that happens, the way that it all piles on, that's not real. But it's real. Stuff happens all the time. Just problem after problem after problem, and you just are really trying to figure out how you can cope with it. Or how you can protect the people that you care about. That was a big part of this. The family knows about the problems and they won't do anything about it. It's all stuff that's very, very deeply deeply rooted in reality. It's been my reality for some time. Not the me having a kid and restraining order, stuff like that, but just the whole thing of outside looking in. And just on that, and but now things are rough. But between that and coordination, that was months ahead, because the other thing was trying to cast my kid. Was surprisingly very hard to do. You wouldn't think it, being in California. But I actually wasn't able to find anyone out here. The actress I ended up finding, named Lucy, she came out from New York, and this was coordinated with her mom months in advance. There's like, okay, so we're gonna do this particular week. We're gonna work with Lucy for 3 days, and then after that, that's it. We'll make sure that it's all done in 3 days. That's all the time that we allotted with them. You know, Short periods of time, making sure that Lucy was able to work in California. She had to get, like the permit to do that. That was my first time again learning about any of that process. I didn't know that process for child actors. That was a part of the learning experience. So I mean, I'm glad overall everyone did great. That's I think we handled the topic well, but it's one of those projects where it was a short, and I want to revisit that story as a feature. Um, Try to get as much people back for that as possible, but it's been a couple years, so not too sure. But are all people I want to work with again. That's always my thing, especially with me, and me having a smaller crew, and really barely starting off my production company. I always make sure that the people I work with, at one point or another, I end up working with them again. I always say, like, if y'all are good people, like we're good people, we'll make sure that you have some more work.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it sounds like it has like a further direction to it as well. Maybe Lucy grows up and then boom, let's get her perspective from everything from as that child growing
Yeah.
up in that environment.
Yeah, that definitely would be a thing to tackle. She was 6. She's about 9 now, I believe. So, like, it's still possible. She's still young. It wasn't too long ago. But I've still keep in touch with them and say, like, hey, when I have something good, I'll make
Mhm.
sure that I reach out to y'all first.
Awesome. All right, Lance. So I'm curious. So from the projects that you discussed so far, what would you say has been your most challenging obstacle so far with filmmaking as a whole?
As a whole, um, I think just trying to figure out more extensive editing as I go along, between editing, and then just trying to keep the days uniform. I always have a plan. I always make sure to have a plan for the day before anything starts. But you know something might happen and it'll throw the whole plan out of whack. So it's really just, I'm trying to make sure that I stay on top of that, because like with I Got You, I had a full plan in play for that, or when we would shoot, so that way we wouldn't be out all hours of the night. But literally right before we started shooting, daylight savings hit, and then it didn't get dark until 7 o'clock, as opposed to it being dark at 4 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, well, now we have no option but to wait. I couldn't do anything about that aside from postponing the shoot, but at that point would have been waiting months. So or splitting up the days, so it's more days on set, and that's not not very ideal. Everyone has lives. Everyone's working on other projects. I said everybody who I worked with does more than one thing in film. So trying to coordinate with them if I had to do that would have been more and more time in between. So that's really been the biggest thing, is just making sure that everything goes right in the day. And I know I have no real control over that, but still just, making sure I stay on top of it as the films get more extensive and I use um more filmmakers and talent that I haven't worked with before. Just making sure that they're okay, and that I stay on top of it. And with editing, kind of same thing, is like just really try to like maintain the time of it all. You know, I do all the editing myself, so I'm just trying to figure out how to balance that. If I want to help, if I want to have one of my other crew members help me out, or help me out with sound or something like that. It's just that's been the main, is because that's kind of coming back to um how I started off. I'm used to, well, if I don't do it, it's not gonna happen. But I'm at the point now where I'm like, I know I can trust these people, so I'm now delegating out, like, you know jobs for them. But that's been the hardest thing, is just kind of recognizing, like, yeah, I do have help now. At one point I didn't, but now I do, so I should ask for it.
There you go. That's fair. Sometimes you got to take off one of those hats and trust someone to take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Lance, so where can people find some of your work, your portfolios, your trailers? Where can they see? Do you have a social media, IMDb page, or YouTube?
Yeah, yeah. So YouTube, the channel is the production name, Forever the Villain Productions. You can find the Peak is on there. Like I said, I'm doing film festivals that I can't release I Got You just yet, but the first teaser for I Got You is on there. I came back to the fan film world for a little bit, doing Batman fan films where I played the Joker. I also wrote and directed those. So that one's called Mr. Dent and Mr. J, and then I have another one. So those two you can also find on there. My previous work, all my fan films from when I was, between 15 and 17, all those are still on the page. So you can find all that stuff on there. Social media wise, you can find me at Lance McCloud FTV. Um, Forever the Villain. I also do have a Forever the Villain page, and then IMDb. Same thing. You can find me, Lance McCloud. I am the second Lance McCloud. The first one did stuff in the '70s, I believe. So I'm Lance McCloud too on IMDb.
Awesome. Get connected with Lance and check out his work. All right, Lance. So you mentioned your production company, Forever the Villain Productions. So what made you start that production company, and how are you guys doing so far?
So far, so good, man. Like, that was my biggest thing, and one of the many things that my brother told me when I was getting into this is to learn multiple jobs, and so that way I can just get the ball rolling. That has always been my thing as I've started this and gotten better with the acting, and did all the film programs and stuff like that. Is just kind of recognizing I don't want to wait, for my opportunity. I'll be waiting forever, so why not do it? Why not write it? And stuff like that. And then my best friend, he got into photography right around the time that I decided to do everything independent, and he'd been a part of it since the beginning. So he's always been a part of it as my DP, as my director of photography and my cinematographer. So, but even with him, same thing. I told him, like, you got to learn how to do other stuff, and he has helped me with directing a couple times. He's writing his own stuff. We're about to start offering headshots for people. We're both getting into the headshot business. So for any newer actors who don't have it, or just looking for like a quick headshot, we can come to us and it'll be cheaper. So that's kind of where we're at now. But yeah, like, just that's been the creative is me, my best friend, my brother, and now, like I said, we've grown better certainly. He's figured out his style. Brian is my best friend, my DP. He's figured out his style. Um, I come to him, I give him the script with the blocking, he comes back to me with the shots, and I can trust him to do that. And I'm like, hey, whatever you want to do, what I'm looking for, with what I want to show on screen. So I completely trust whatever you want to do, we'll do it. My brother Todd, like I said, sometimes he helps me with directing. Most times it's with the writing. I know I can always come to him for it. So a lot of it is with that, and then he also gives his feedback with editing. Same thing. We had another friend named Mia who joined us. She helped out with cinematography a lot, and was gaffer doing lights for a couple projects. And newest is, like I said, my girlfriend Bianca. She herself, writer, director, actor, um, gaffer. She does all of it. So especially with this current project that I'm writing right now, like I said, that one prequel to I Got You. That one called Hello Dear. She will be directing with me, but she's also been just really heavy in the process. I come to her when I'm, spouting ideas for writing, the story and everything like that, and just figuring out the timeline. She's helped me out a lot with that. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to give her flowers for that. But yeah, like I said, so far, we're getting a lot more people involved, and that honestly is the greatest thing of it. It started off with just three people, and like solidified, it may still be three people, but we have people who are absolutely willing to help us. They know our work, they know what we do, they've seen our stuff, and there's people who have come to me and said, like, I like y'all's style, I want to work with you. And that honestly I think is the best thing, is people who want to work with you. So I'd say that probably has been the biggest thing of our growth is, people may not know the name yet, but at the very least they know what we do and they like it.
Awesome, awesome. And we're gonna make sure we help you get that name out there. Shout out to the whole Forever the Villain Productions crew. Right? You are all doing great work. Keep it up. Keep at it. All right, Lance, we're at that part of the episode where I ask this question to all the guests. What is a book, a TV show, or a film that you recommend?
Book, a TV show, or a film. um can I do both film and
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So um TV show, I will say Black Mirror. Black Mirror is anthology, all based around new types of technology. Some of them deal with drama, some of them deal with action, some of them deal with horror. If you're looking for something trippy, something emotional, some funny, they have it all. And there's, I think, about like 8 seasons so far, if I remember correctly. So Black Mirror, I definitely say, um, is a good TV show. Specific episodes, look for White Christmas and Playtest and Striking Vipers. Those three, phenomenal. Um, film. Um, film. I will go. Tales from the Hood, another anthology one. Um, Following predominantly black cast. Um, Phenomenal performances. And yeah, like Tales from the Hood is horror. I'm big on horror. But yeah, I definitely say Tales from the Hood is phenomenal. Once again, that one's also anthology, with an overarching story. Really scary, really scary, but definitely tackles you know certain aspects, um, certain heavier aspects, and I think a very good way while mixing in the horror. And that one's definitely a very good watch.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing. One last question. Would you be willing to share with us who's your favorite horror villain?
My favorite horror villain. Ooh, ooh. Uh I've always loved Freddy Krueger. I've always loved Freddy Krueger. I will praise specifically, like I love all of them, but specifically New Nightmare. New Nightmare is the last one that Freddy Krueger did before, or that Robert Englund did before Freddy vs. Jason. That one in particular, I've always felt was the best one, the scariest one. It's also very meta. Um, that story, same thing. It's not necessarily following Freddy Krueger or the characters from Nightmare on Elm Street. It's following Heather Langenkamp, the woman who played Nancy in the beginning, and there's something taking the shape of Freddy that wants her. So that's why it's meta. You're following an actor playing herself, and the version of Freddy we're seeing is not actual Freddy, but the scariest Freddy. I absolutely believe that one's the scariest Freddy. But overall, Freddy Krueger, hands down, I think between just being both scary and he's funny. He's funny.
Yep, definitely. All right, everyone. That's been our episode of Inside Plug today. Lance, thank you again for joining us and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. You know where we're at every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember, stay inspired and keep creating. Inside Plug, signing out.